So this is a basic demonstration.
Okay, so here's Pat Walsh, ProLink, and we're going to do what today?
We're going to do a basic demonstration of vacuum in resin transfer molding infusion, resin infusion.
Vacuum infusion, okay.
So we cut our samples. We're going to build a part that sort of looks like that out of composite.
Okay.
First thing we did was we cut our release film to protect the part from the resin so that we can release the composite.
Release film so the resin won't stick.
Right. And second is going to be the basic carbon fiber composite that we cut.
Carbon fiber composite. Have to talk up.
This is a product known as 3K 2x2 twill.
3K 2x2 12 carbon fiber.
2x2 twill. The third layer will be another layer of release film to protect the composite from the breather cloth.
Release film.
And the fourth layer will be the basic breather cloth.
Breather film so the vacuum can move the resin easier.
Okay, now we have...
Okay, what's the next step?
Okay, so on the next step here we have the vacuum seal tape applied to the platen.
Vacuum seal tape right there.
And we inserted our resin ports here for our vacuum side and our resin side on both sides.
Resin side.
And now we're going to
vacuum side. Here's the vacuum pump.
And now we're going to apply the vacuum bag over the surface.
Vacuum bag. So the vacuum will pull the resin through the cloth.
That's correct. Okay. Test. Turn on the vacuum line.
One section. Another section. So this is pulling the vacuum?
Just drawing out as much air as we can before we apply the resin. And sealing off the other end of the line.
Oh, I see. Let me see. Okay, it's holding the end of the line. We're sucking the air out of the vacuum bag. Okay, we got our vacuum pulling, and we got vacuum in right there, and we're going to have resin coming in right there.
As soon as we're ready.
As soon as we're ready.
We're doing what we call a debulk phase.
What phase?
This is called a debulking phase.
Debulking. And so next comes
the resin. We're going to mix the resin, and then we're going to draw the resin through the vacuum line.
we draw the resin from there, through there, and then through the part. And we have 22 inches of mercury. And then the resin will flow through the part here into the vacuum line. Okay, this particular resin is mixed part A to part B.
Epoxy based.
This is epoxy with cycloaliphatic amines.
And a reactive diluent added.
And a reactive diluent. And it's mixed in the ratio of 2 parts to 1 part by weight. So we mix 500 grams of epoxy to 250 grams of the part B. And it's thin. Has to be thin in order to flow through the hoses under vacuum infusion.
This system catalyzed is approximately 600 centipoise.
600 centipoise.
So, turn on the vacuum pump.
Now we're all set up. We got our vacuum pump going. We're putting the juice to it. It's going to flow. There it's flowing. Juice is flowing through the hose and through the infusion, through the matrix. There's the flow part. It's already coming through over here. As it keeps flowing through the cloth, it's going to get the maximum amount of strength by having the minimum amount of resin. And we can see our resin is being sucked down and
I'm just going to try to make an adjustment on
okay, Mr. Walsh, what's our next experiment?
the vacuum bag wet layup.
Vacuum bag wet layup. And so we have the tape on the flat mold, and then
That's
you
to keep
put
the mold release off the edges,
the mold release off the edges.
so that our sealant tape will adhere better to the tool.
Okay. Okay, so we put mold release on the part.
But that's just to make sure that any residual resin doesn't.
In case any resin gets on the mold, we don't want to have it stick. Okay, what's our next step?
Well, next step is we're gonna take the wet resin, or the liquid resin, and we're gonna wet out carbon material.
Okay, we're going to pour the wet resin onto the carbon material, and then
I gotta cut one more piece
we're
of
going to put it onto the mold.
grease down there.
Okay, so we poured it onto the carbon fiber, and now we're going to squeegee it around and wet out the carbon. This is called what?
This is called wet layup.
Wet layup. And you have the release paper underneath the mold, or the glass anyway. We're completely soaking and wetting it out. Lower it. So this,
We don't mind if it's a little resin rich because we're not concerned about weight for this experiment.
so we're
But
going
if you were concerned about weight, you would pre-weigh the composite sample and then measure out an amount of epoxy resin equivalent to roughly 50% in order to get what they refer to as a 50% resin content.
50% by weight of the cloth. And then that's all you would put onto it and work it in.
Yep.
Okay. But in our case, we're going to vacuum it off.
In our case, we're just going to try to get a thoroughly saturated composite part just for the purpose of demonstrating the
Okay.
vacuum. Okay, so we're going to transfer this back over to the tool. turn that off a minute.
Okay, so we have the release paper on the tool, and we have the release paper on this. Isn't this going to be on the car though?
Yeah, but we want to protect the car,
Oh, okay.
and then we want another layer.
Oh, okay, I get it. Here's some.
Oh, sorry, don't need to read the cloth.
Have to wipe that.
Oh, forgot something. Nope, the reader cloth will go right on top.
And then the breather cloth.
And then the large. Oh. Look at that cut real piece of it. Like that. So it's a little more centered.
So we just turned on the vacuum pump.
I have some of that.
The shape of the car is taking place. So the excess resin is being sucked out of the cloth. So you can have maximum strength and minimum weight. Okay, so we found the leak. We were at 15, 16. And we found that right there, by using our ears, we were able to get the leak and then plug it up. And then instantly when we plugged it up, the vacuum jumped from 15 up to 20. So then we knew we had it. And that's going to give the part a complete profile. Okay, what's this next step?
Okay, this next step is we ran the vacuum line through the exhaust port on the oven.
Oh, yes.
And we reconnected the vacuum line. So now we're going to close the oven door, and we're going to set the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, there's the vacuum pump connected to the hose, which goes into the oven, which keeps it under vacuum while it's curing. Okay, here it comes out of the oven. Okay, here's another aspect. We're going to do a two-ply. This is over carbon, and then do a ply with silica-based fiberglass over that.
In between.
So we're wetting out the carbon now. And we'll vacuum out the excess epoxy from this to keep it light and strong as possible. Now we're putting over the glass to give it more strength, more rigidity. Two-ply. And you can see the epoxy resin sucking into the cloth, bonding the two together until it completely becomes one. Then we'll suck off the excess epoxy, and it'll be as strong and light as it can be.